Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to 2 Samuel, chapter 18. In this chapter, 33 verses. Verse 1, why is this permitted? Okay, it's not actually what's in the verse, but I'm asking a question. Why was it permitted for David to number the people in this chapter, in this episode? But later on, big spoiler, but I think a lot of people realize that David conducted a census later on. That was a sin. That was wrong. And he was punished for that. Why is this numbering the people here and now in chapter 18? Why is this wrong? Or not wrong? Why is it not wrong? Why was it wrong later on? Okay, answer why you think it was. I'd be interested to read your comments. Verse 3, be unto us an aid, talking to King David, versus succor. So just help us. In any case, they want him to help from a distance, not be involved in the battle and risk his life. Verse 4, good in your eyes versus best. So it's one thing to do what is best in somebody's estimation, but to do what's good in someone else's eyes is different, because it, again, is from their perspective, not your own. Although it does say what seems you best. So, okay, in any case, it is close. But we have our first big difference in verse 5. This is regarding Absalom's, King David's instructions regarding Absalom. What does the king say? King David says, spare for my sake the young man. So, for my sake, spare the young man. Spare his life. That's what it means. Don't kill him. It's explicit. Do not kill him. Spare his life, in other words. The Masoretic, a little gray. It says, gently or softly deal with him for my sake, the young man Absalom. So you could kill him, but just kill him gently. Spare his life in the Septuagint, but you can kill him softly if we're going to use, this very specific language. So gently, softly, kill him flowingly, kill him with softness, kill him with kindness. There can be a lot of workarounds, loopholes. Okay, so that's a big difference in my opinion. That the Septuagint is explicit in terms of King David's instructions not to kill Absalom, whereas the Masoretic, it's a little bit gray. It can be, you can use a loophole and say, okay, we're going to deal gently with him, but we're going to just kill him gently. We're not going to do it cruelly. Okay. Verse 6, wood versus field. Clearly it was in the woods. It was not in a field. They didn't go start in the field and then move into the woods. Verse 8, another question. Two questions now for you. How did the woods kill the people? It says the wood consumed more of the people than the sword in that day. Now, how is that possible? Were the woods alive? Was it bears? Was it simply, multiple instances where people with long hair had their head caught in the boughs, just like Absalom did? How were they killed by the woods? And how did it kill more than the sword? That doesn't make any sense to me anyway. On first reading, verse 9, suspended versus taken up. So yes, Absalom was suspended between the heaven and earth, versus he was taken up, like divinely, miraculously was taken up. No, it was by the bow. But people can read this and say, oh, this was supernatural. although no one makes that argument, but someone could make that argument if they're really trying to stump people just on the language alone. Verse 12 to 13, we have a second big difference. It says here, take care of the young man Absalom for me. Okay, so that was the instruction, how the young man understood the instruction, and he's relaying it, repeating how he understood the instructions of King David to Joab. So take care of the young man Absalom for me, so as to do no harm to his life. So we're not even going to hurt him. Not, far be it killing him, but not even hurting him. Doing no harm, like the Hippocratic Oath. In the Masoretic, it reads like this: beware that none touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise, I would have worked falsehood against mine own life. So no, that the big difference here is that the Septuagint is associating the word life with Absalom's life. Don't do any harm to his life. Whereas the Masoretic associates the word life here with the man, the young man speaking to Joab, saying, if we touch Absalom, I'm going to work falsehood. I will have a lie against my own life. So that's not what it's saying. It has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with Absalom. Because we see in the previous verse, it says here, or I should say in verse 13, you will set yourself against me. You will set yourself against me. If you do this, Joab, you will set me against you. We're going to be on opposite sides. I will be with King David. You're going to be with the other side. Verse 14, Joab responding, really cold. I will begin this. I will not thus remain with thee. So that is his answer to, you will set yourself against me. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna be with you. I'm not gonna be on your side anymore. And I will begin this. I will do this, essentially, in response to, you will set yourself against me. Versus, I may not tarry thus. So I'm not gonna wait like this with you. Or thus can also be taken as then. I'm not going to wait then with you. I'm not going to wait so in this way with you. Third question. I have a third question. Now, I have to do my research for this. This might be another video, but why did Joab kill Absalom? What is his motivation? What is the relationship between him and Absalom? Why was it such something he was very determined to do? Now, I don't have the answer at the moment. I have to do more research into this. I've read this account many times, but at the moment I do not have the explanation for you in this video as such. But it has to do with his relationship to Absalom's relatives and Joab's relatives. It's a family, I believe it's family bickering, put it that way. Okay, we'll look into that in another video in the future. Verse 16, Joab spared the people. Okay, so Joab spared Israel. So he only wanted to kill Absalom, so he spared Israel, the rest of the army of Israel. And when we say Israel, King David's army is Judah, whereas Israel is the rest of the tribes. And then it says here, Joab held back the people, his own forces. So the Septuagint is saying that Joab spared the people of Israel, whereas the Masoretic is saying Joab held back his own forces. So that's a significant difference. I'm going to mark that down as such, as an SD. Okay, verse 17. He, Joab, versus they, David's army, or Israel. Okay, so it's verse 17. He took Absalom versus they took Absalom. And there is an omission of, pardon that, put that on silent. There is an omission of into a great cavern. Okay. Verse 18. There is another omission of the pillar, not the pillar, but the part that follows the pillar, near which he was taken. So this is a significant pillar because this is close to where Absalom was taken, I believe, where his life was taken. And then it says here, Absalom called that pillar Absalom's hand versus Absalom's place. Verse 19, glad tidings versus tidings. We're going to see this continuous difference of glad or good tidings versus just plain tidings. And also in verse 19 it says, delivered him from the hand of his enemies versus avenged him of his enemies. Verse 20, a messenger of glad tidings versus tidings. Verse 22, nay, let me also. So Ahimaaz saying to Joab, no, let me also run after Hushai. Verses in the Masoretic, howsoever, but let me, I pray thee, please, let me run. He's not begging, he's not trying to convince him, he's saying, no, let me also run. I mean, he is convincing him, just in a different attitude. Verse 22. Big difference. It says here, attend. You have no tidings. For profit if you go. So Joab is responding to Ahimaaz, saying, attend. Attend to what? Attend to something else. You have no tidings for profit if you go. Attend to other matters. Why would you thus run, my son? You have no news that will profit. No profitable news if you go. What does the Masoretic say? And why is it a big difference? Because it says here, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready. You don't have any news. Is that true? Obviously not. This is a big contradiction. We can use this if we're just looking at the Masoretic and say the Bible contradicts itself. You can write that down. I'm going to write it down right here. The Bible contradicts itself. I mean, it really doesn't, but the Septuagint doesn't contradict itself. The Masoretic text does. So I'm going to put the Masoretic text contradicts itself. Contradicts itself. This is a strong proof. It does. Septuagint, no room for error. The word of Elohim is perfect. Verse 23, why should I not run? So he's persistent. Why should I not run? Versus, but howsoever, let me run. So again, he's very, different attitude again. And then it says here, kechar versus plain. And then verse 24, of the wall versus unto the wall. So the difference here is that the gate is part of the wall versus David went up to the roof over the gate. Okay, so he went up to the roof and then over the gate, or it's the roof that is over the gate. And then he went to the wall. So these are two different places, but in the Septuagint, it's simply one place. It's the top of the gate of the wall. It's one place. Verse 25, there's an omission of good again, good tidings. This is important. I'll mention it later on. Verse 28, big difference, another one. Peace. So Ahimaaz is saying peace. Shalom. What is he saying in the Masoretic text? All is well. No, that's a big lie. I mean, although peace is, I think it's not a lie because he's saying peace be unto you, or I come in peace. But all is well means nothing bad happened. So that is a lie. He didn't say all is well. He said shalom. And then this verse in both translations actually support verse 19 of the Septuagint, because it says here, delivered up the men that lifted up their hands. So in both, you'll notice that lifted up their hands. And that's a call back to verse 19. Verse 31, wrapping up here. An omission of glad tidings again. Glad, referring as it connects to tidings. So these omissions matter, glad, good, and so forth, because from their perspective, it is good news. It is glad tidings from the messenger's perspective. But little do they know that from the heart of King David, from his own perspective, it is not good news at all. And he doesn't perceive Absalom as his enemy. He sees him as his son that's just, gone awry and just needs to be redirected or corrected. Like he sees Absalom as not a lost cause, and he can still change and turn from his sin, whereas everyone else has given up on him. He said, pretty much saying he's your enemy and, he's a lost cause. It's better he's dead than alive. Whereas King David is not of the same mindset. He's his father, a loving father. Okay, and then this verse supports verse 19. I mentioned that already, I believe. Yeah. Verse 32. It is well with Absalom. Is it well with the young man Absalom? The question is. Versus, is the young man Absalom safe? Okay, it's not a big difference. It's just an interesting difference. Is it well versus is he safe? He could be safe and dead, but if he's well, he's alive. I mean, the body could be safe. If we're going to be really technical about the language. Last verse, troubled. So this is hard to. It was hard for me to read this because I put myself in David's place. The king was troubled. He knew right away what that meant when Hushai said, let the enemies of my lord the king and all whosoever have risen up against him for evil be as that young man, in response to his question. And he was troubled. He knew right away. He knew what that meant. He wasn't stupid. In the Masoretic, King David was much moved. That can have many connotations. The Septuagint, he was clearly going through emotional despair, emotional loss. He knew what had happened. Being emotionally moved can mean so many different things. It depends on which emotion we're talking about. And then his lament, he laments right away. He says, my son Absalom, my son Absalom. Would Elohim I had died for you. I for you. Absalom, my son, my son. So there's an omission actually of I for you, so that he repeats it twice. And there is an addition of O twice as well. So I for you. So that's all for this chapter. It's was a very emotional account, and the situation with Absalom was tragic. King Solomon, or I should say King David, gave his men explicit instructions to spare Absalom's life. They did not obey. Or I should say Joab did not obey. So that's all for this chapter. Thank you very much for your time. Until next time, bid you all shalom aleichem, yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Irini mazisu, pax vobiscum. Peace be unto you. May Adonai bless you and protect you. Until next time, I bid you all Maranatha.